Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
Hold one, Andre.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Oh my God!
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold two, on bar.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Dummy.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
Hold three, Lamas covered, three-handle family gradunzel.
Mamma mia!
And now, Unchained.media presents the B Plus Podcast with your host, Greg Unchained.
It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Number 4, Armbar.
I will never retire!
I still got 200 more. I got 200 more holes to list.
All right, ladies, gents, and non-binary friends, welcome to another B Plus podcast. I'm your host, Greg Unchained. Today is Tuesday. We are going to do some bonus episodes breaking down some of the fantastic wrestling that happened around the country this last weekend, starting, of course, as we tend to do, in Melbourne, with Melbourne City Wrestling. Uprising, it was their... wasn't their first show of the year. Was it their first show of the year?
Second.
It was the second show of the year for Melbourne City Wrestling. It was a big January. I forget things. Joining me, the voice you heard, of course, very familiar voice from On The Turnbuckle. Brent, how you doing, man?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I had a very big weekend because I went to Riot City Wrestling and Wrestle Rampage back to back, and then spent Sunday sort of trying to catch up on some other things. So I've had a very, very full wrestling weekend.
Yeah, those shows looked amazing from what I saw briefly online.
Yeah, that HQ venue that Riot City ran, it's the second time running that venue, and the production is just insane there. It looked next level. Yeah, they recently did like a multi-million-dollar renovation on this venue, and they had freaking pyro. Like, the announcers come out to start the show, as they do at like every indie wrestling show. The announcers come out to welcome you, and they come out with freaking pyro, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I feel like them and PCW both putting a lot of money into their production and presentation recently, and they've got a working relationship with each other, so it'll be interesting to see what they can produce. Yeah,
absolutely, and both of them are sort of the partner promotions for World Series Wrestling as well.
Yes.
So all the benefit that from that World Series Wrestling tours that goes into the local company for the fans to enjoy, pyro. It's just insane to me that I was at a local show. Chris Basso came out, and I mean, he's called World Class Chris Basso, and he had pyro, and it was like I felt like I was at the AEW rally,
They had sparklers, didn't they?
Yeah, well, that's what it was. It was the sparkler pyro, but it's still impressive. I don't know.
It's very impressive.
Yeah.
It's very impressive. And Australian wrestling companies' production across the board is like ramping up with Wrestle Rampage doing the live streams, and I mean, I love revisiting the MCW shows and the Underworld shows on Vimeo, and
yeah,
it's just really, really good time. It's costing me a fortune in subscriptions, though.
It is, yeah, me too. And I think a lot of it actually starts with the company that we're about to talk about, Melbourne City Wrestling, because they have a lot of, TV people as their day jobs. There are people who do TV stuff as day jobs, and they've brought that expertise into the wrestling, and it's sort of upped the ante, and then other people are like, well, shit, look at them, now we have to up the ante, and it's just gotten better and better.
Yeah, it's Mikey's fantastic with that stuff, and he has he decided wrestling wasn't giving fans what they wanted like all those years ago, and I think it's still probably not where he wants it to be even. He's very ambitious.
Yeah, well, I mean,
but it's a good team.
That's good. You want to be ambitious.
Exactly.
Look at how far it's come, and it can go so much further. I am here for it, as they say. I'm very excited about You know this. We talk about this all the time. We're very excited about things that are happening around the country. But let's dive in. MCW Uprising. Looked on paper, looks like a pretty good show going in. I don't know, some of the results and things I was sort of looking at like, I don't know how. It felt like there were a lot of post-match angles and what have you, which I'm not necessarily a fan of, but I'll have to wait until I see it. So that's why I'm talking to someone who was there, because I don't want to be criticizing something that I haven't seen. But did it feel like that? Did it feel like there was a lot of angles sort of ham-fisted into the show?
It felt like, even going in, it's the kind of show they traditionally would have run at their Essendon venue, which is the smaller show that starts the angles moving forward. And this feels like it was that kind of a show. The Essendon venue is not available anymore, so they're banking on running Thornbury Theatre every show, which it's a much bigger venue, so it wasn't full. And halfway through the night, the air conditioning went out, which really sapped the crowd as well.
Right.
So, and it even affected ability to, like, it was oppressively hot on Saturday in Melbourne, so it made concentrating as a fan difficult, to be honest, and it's unfair on the guys who put on some pretty good matches in those last 3 matches, but it was tough.
Yeah, and I'm going to say the same thing about Wrestle Rampage too. Wrestling in that level of heat, like, must be insane for the performers, like, because it's just, it was hot in Adelaide that night as well, but I think it was hotter over where you guys are. You guys hit 40, didn't you?
39, I think, yeah. But the post-match angles were almost my highlights of the night, which, only because I'm a story guy. I've told you this heaps of times. I'm a story guy, and I felt like going into the show, we didn't have a lot of angles.
Right.
And I feel like now, going into the next show, that I'm actually really looking forward to a lot of it playing out.
Right, and the next show is Clash of the Titans, yeah?
Yes.
Which is one of their biggest shows. So, of course, we want to have story going into that show. So let's dive in the opener. Lockie Hendricks, with his stuff at the moment online is some of the best stuff in Australian wrestling. That he's forming. I'm all on board with that.
I love Lockie. He's on the turnbuckle this week, so tune in for that one.
Absolutely.
So yeah, he and Jake Lindo, who hasn't wrestled at a singles match at Thornbury for, I think he told me 6 years or 7 years.
Wow.
And I'd like after that match to see a lot more of it, because he was really good. He's been doing a lot of tag team stuff around Victoria lately. He hasn't wrestled a lot of singles matches, but him and Lockie are both character workers, and I feel like Lindo, he definitely held his own in that match, and him and Lockie put on close to the best match of the night.
Yeah. Lindo's someone who's been around for a while, and people don't realize just how sound he is. Like, when we get all hyped up about, different individuals and how great they are and how they're pushing things forward and stuff, Lindo's just, like, he's a solid, consistent, good hand. Like,
he's over as well. The crowd really like him. Like, that character of the player, he can play heel or babyface with it, depending how disgusting he wants to get. But look, he's a really good guy as well outside the ring, so you always want him to do well. And he was a champion at NAW. He's working everywhere, but I would like to see him more in singles matches. And it really, that as a vehicle, really served to remind the crowd of what he can do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then Lockie's a genius with his persona.
Yeah, he's got to be one of the best character workers in the country. Which is no surprise, given that Crackerjack was his mentor, because Crackerjack is absolutely incredible. But I take a look at it. I've seen some conflicting reports. Did he grab the tights? Did he not grab the tights? What happened?
I didn't see the tight grab from my angle, but I did. He removed the turnbuckle, Lindo into the turnbuckle, hit the Britney spear, and that was the end. So it wouldn't have surprised me if he grabbed the tights. It would have added to it.
Yeah.
But then Fun Time Phil came out, continuing on from Lockie's web series, which everyone should check out. And they're going to be wrestling at the next show if Phil loses, Aria gets the boot.
Right, that's an interesting stipulation.
Yes, well the smart thing was Phil didn't want to accept the match, and Aria's the one who jumped in and accepted it on his behalf.
Nice, yeah.
So she's obviously got faith in Phil. She said he's on a roll, which made everyone laugh because he's won one match.
Yeah. Yeah, and
They're a good pair, those two.
Yeah, they are. I really enjoy the chemistry that they have, and I'm looking forward to that. Then, if I mean, Phil's gonna have to win a second one, right? Because we don't want Arya leaving MCW. No one wants that.
Well, no one wants her to leave. But I mean, even when you do leave, who knows how long you leave for? There's always angles that can bring you back and loopholes. So, I think that if it's the start of giving Arya a story arc, then it's a positive thing. Even if he does lose and she has to leave town, and then we follow her journey trying to get back in.
Yeah, or even have her, what was the whole Mr. America thing? Miss Australia, put her under a hood.
Miss Italia, probably. Yeah, that'd be actually quite good.
let's get some stuff happening for Arya. I like it. And then we move on to something that looks like potentially match of the night from where I'm sitting, just from looking at the two names involved. Richie Taylor, Mike Burr.
Yeah, and he beat the crap out of each other, which is what everyone expected and wanted.
Yeah.
Look, Mike Burr, in this kind of a role, he's worth his weight in gold because he, as a gatekeeper for someone like a hard-hitting, I see it as the kind of thing where Richie Taylor and Mike Burr could potentially become a tag team because they had the show of respect to each other at the end of the match. That
right.
You'd actually like to see them either beat the crap out of each other or tag with each other going forward
to beat the crap out of everyone else.
Yeah, and then you've got the built-in feud when the tag team breaks apart eventually, which I think would be a good little. I mean, Mike Burr's in his 20th year wrestling. It'd be a good year-long story arc for the pair of them. You would think.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about this before, the tag team division in Melbourne City Wrestling, and how it could use a boost, especially with we thought it was getting a boost with the Phillip brothers, and then they got picked up by Farley Dojo, so then they split quickly and they've left as a unit, which we'll get to soon. But, the tag division can definitely always use more players, and a Richie Taylor Mike Burr team would be a threat to anyone that steps in with them.
I like watching Richie wrestle, and there's an element of the crowd that loves Richie, and they all stand together. I don't know if they're his friends or if they're guys that follow him around. But at the end of the match, you see them going nuts, and the rest of the crowd sort of sitting on their hands a little bit.
Right.
So, I don't know, there's got to be a way that you can tell a story that gets Richie to connect with the whole crowd, because at the moment, he's having matches, and if you love his matches, you'll love him, but there hasn't been a lot put into, Richie as a character.
As the character, yeah. I'm surprised people don't just connect with the theme song.
Yeah, I mean, I love that, but he should be coming out as a Wharfie if he's going to be doing that. I want a Wharfie on strike.
Yeah.
That's what the song's about.
Yeah, but it's such a great theme though, and I don't know, I dig the whole Richie Taylor vibe. Like his look does suit the song and suits the style and everything. So I'm digging it. But yeah, I see what you mean about like needing a bit of a story to really get people behind him. And I think a team with Mike Burr could be that.
Well, he has good matches with everybody.
Yeah,
Richie, like he's sort of got that, and they gave him the match against Jimmy Havoc, and then. It looks like DCT's now entering the fray. He sort of called out both guys at the end of the match, so I don't know if he's got a partner in mind for DCT or what. But I really liked the way DCT was introduced because it made him look like a big deal, which he is.
Right. So DCT, former ICW champion over in the island. Yeah.
I've seen him debut at 2 different companies already. And just as, this is DCT, he's just a wrestler on the card.
Yeah.
MCW have treated him like a star, and he's got name value with the internet wrestling community, which is now just really the whole wrestling community.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that there's definitely story moving forward here. DCT basically called everyone in Melbourne rubbish, called these 2 guys rubbish while they were sitting in the ring together. So that's what leads me to believe there could be an alliance between these 2 in a feud with DCT.
Right. So in that case, who would DCT bring in as a partner? That's the question. Because he referred to them as soft, is what I had in mind. Yeah. So who does DCT consider to not be soft? That's the question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it needs to be someone who's not from Melbourne or even not from Australia.
Yeah.
And it would almost need to be someone with size who he can hide behind a bit.
Right.
Because I think when you're talking a story, a bloke who's playing a bit of chicken shit heel, hiding behind someone, calling everyone else Stoss. That's he.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not even sure how big is DCT. He's a relatively big guy
Oh,
himself.
he's a little bit taller than I see. About 6 foot.
Yeah. So
good-looking guy, really nice guy, and he's smart. He's a really smart worker.
Yeah, there are some names that I would love to see head down to Melbourne City Wrestling. One that comes to mind is Ricky South, but I don't know if Ricky South would really fit the definition of hard if he's in there calling these two gentlemen soft. So
I think Slade Mercer would be a good fit.
Slade Mercer would be an amazing fit, and he's not really from Melbourne, is he? He's a Kiwi.
No, he's from New Zealand. Yeah. And he's a hard hitter. He works a really slow, methodical style that stands apart from most wrestlers.
Yeah.
And he doesn't mind getting punched in the face. So he could really have a good match with these guys.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see where it goes. Pick up Slade, MCW, because Slade is fantastic. he's underrated. I don't know why he's not already on Melbourne City Wrestling cards.
He's working everywhere else, that's probably why. But yeah, Slade would be, even if you brought him in for a few months, I think, to start DCT off, he's got recognition in Melbourne, so
yeah,
someone like that would be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we move on, contract signing. Gino, Slex. This one actually streamed live, so I saw this one as well. But the angle wasn't necessarily the best because, it wasn't their normal production. It was just like a camera from up on the balcony. So some of the details were lost on me. Like, I didn't realize he poured water on a kid's head.
Yeah, that was the highlight of the night.
Holy crap.
For me. Very $1 Million Man, which I enjoyed. Like, the little kid. So firstly, Sebastian's asking the whole crowd, like, who's going to win, and then pulling the mic away and claiming it's another vote for Gino.
Right.
Which was good. And then the kid had been about 9 or 10 years old. He was a big Slex fan. So Gino, look, it was a hot night. Gino obviously was worried about the kid, getting heat stroke or something. So just cooled him off with a bottle of water.
That's what Gino says.
Who am I to argue with Gino?
That's the official Gino Sebastian Walker PR spin that they've put on it. Like, what a nice guy Gino is, cooling off the fans. But what he actually did was pour a bottle of water over a kid's head because he didn't like the fact that the kid thinks Slex is going to beat him.
Yeah, and look, it was fun. I would have liked to have seen Peter Costello's son go through the table more than Slex, but
let's touch on that. Let's touch on that because as soon as he was announced as well as moderating this whole segment, I was like, he's got to eat the table, right? Like, he has to.
Oh, I know he's learned how to bump, so
has he
I'm
really?
Not sure, but I was talking to someone who ran him through some training sessions recently. And put on it was for his Bucks night. His Bucks night was at a wrestling gym, learning how to wrestle.
That's amazing. So he's actually a wrestling fan. He's not just someone.
He's a huge wrestling fan.
Okay.
It's the only reason I think the fans accept him, because still half the fans not happy.
I was going to say, not all the fans accept him.
Victoria's a pretty left-wing state, and his dad's politics wasn't that left-wing. So, everyone who knows his history, some pockets of the crowd aren't overly happy to see him, but he is a wrestling fan, so
right.
And he knows he's wrestling. He's like a really big wrestling fan.
Okay, so that makes me more happy about it then, because when wrestling fans get involved, like when it's wrestling fans that are in prominent positions, I think that's smart. If it's just bringing in someone because they're from Triple M, from Channel 9 now, I guess he's Channel 9 now, right?
Yeah, he's both, I think.
Okay, yeah, but just bringing them in because they are that, and you have a connection to them, that's less awesome. But if he's actually a wrestling fan who's like, I want to get involved, how can I help, and all that sort of stuff, then I'll lighten up on him a little bit. I was looking at it. I'm just, because I don't know anything about the guy personally, right? And I'm just looking at it like, this is just some outside guy. Put him through the table. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when Dicko from Australian Idol, he did a no DQ match against Crackerjack once, and really trained for it and respected the business, and I think when it's done like that with a guy who really cares, it's good. But you can't be using, like WWE have used guys who don't even know what WWE is. They just wanted to, sell a movie. That's when it doesn't work and it doesn't connect. But no, I can honestly vouch that Seb Costello is a big wrestling fan, a big MCW fan.
That's good. And so anyway, the contract signing does end, of course, with someone going through a table. Is it even a contract signing if a table doesn't get broken?
I think that I've seen a couple where it doesn't get broken, but yeah, usually you want that. You want someone going through that table.
Yeah, I feel like it's in the contract that they sign that one of them has to go through the table after they sign it, or else
That's when the match becomes official.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If no one goes through the table, the match is null and void. So So Gino puts Slex through the table. You got to think. I feel like Slex is coming out. Is it time? Is it time to topple the Gino regime? Come Clash of the Titans?
I mean, I think that Slex is the most over wrestler at MCW by a lot, and Gino's as over as a heel can be, because MCW tends to be like a cool heel promotion. Everyone loves the cool heel.
Yeah.
So that's
which is kind of the story of Slex.
Yeah, but that's the genius of Gino and Sebastian Walker, is that everyone just still hates them. Them. And I think they've done such a good job of keeping their heat, and there's nothing cool about, like, Gino, I think coming out in that tracksuit, there's nothing cool about that. He comes out with no music, which makes him different. It's a good... Yeah, they're a really good pairing, those two. Sebastian Walker looks like a used car salesman in his terrible cheap suits. It's a good package.
Look, I'm the son of a used car salesman, so I take offense to that. But no, I completely agree. It's they work very well together. I'm looking forward to this match, and at the next show, I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah, look, I think that Slex doesn't have bad matches, and Gino tells a really good story when he's in the ring. So I think that, look, I'm not going to put it past Gino winning, because I mean the babyface chase for the title is always a money storyline.
Yeah.
Because the crowd have been ready for Gino to lose his last 4 matches.
Yeah. Well, the pop when people thought Robbie won was incredible.
You were in the room that night, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
That was huge.
It was ridiculous. It was probably the loudest. It's very close between that and just Mick Moretti's entrance at the Max Watts venue. But Max Watts people are more on top of each other, whereas this is one floor at the Thornbury, and so it's harder to make that level of noise. So I feel like it's probably louder because it's harder to make that level. Does that make sense?
It was.
But Mick Moretti pops are close. Mick Moretti pops are very close. But this was an insane pop, and it was more of a what's the word? Natural sort of thing. The crowd just spontaneously reacted. Yeah, like holy crap, Gino lost. Yeah,
not we've been looking forward to seeing someone all night. It was like during the match, it's like, oh my god, this is what we want. Yeah,
and it turned on a dime too. But yeah, so Gino. Yeah, I feel like they could extend the story, but then the question becomes who beats him. Unless Slex has like a redemption arc and comes back and manages to beat him, or he gets screwed. Because let's be honest, the whole no DQ stipulation, that does work into Gino's favor, right? Because the match is now no countouts, no disqualifications.
It does, and look, you've still got a Ballroom Brawl coming up, which is their biggest show of the year. So do you save Gino's title loss for that, or does Slex get his redemption through winning that and then challenging again? I mean, there's a lot of ways they can get back to Gino and Slex. If Slex gets really... Gino has friends come out and help him retain the title under dubious circumstances. I mean, I wouldn't put it past having Robbie Eagles turn heel and become like a Bullet Club Australia sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's lots of things they can do.
There is a lot of possibilities. Moving on, Loose and Reckless, they defended their titles in a match against Mile High Club. How do you feel about Mile High Club just getting a title match in their very first match as a team within the company?
I think it's okay in that it was clearly Dowie being arrogant and saying, I don't want to wrestle the Brat Pack. I don't think they're worthy. And then giving it to 2 guys who clearly aren't worthy of a title shot yet because they haven't had a match.
Right.
That's playing into the Brat Pack being able to just be upset. And Dowie, when he's being arrogant, is almost my favourite Dowie.
Yeah. I have
smug Dowie.
I have an ongoing joke on Twitter where basically any Dowie that pops up is my favourite Dowie. Super Dowie's my favourite Dowie. CK Dowie's my favourite Dowie. He's one of the best guys we've got in the entire country, and and teaming with Adam Brooks, it's good to see them teaming again. I really enjoyed the first match, and I'm definitely looking forward to this one. I hear Mile High Club got another standing ovation.
They did, and look, they're both, the sky's the limit for both of them. But Tyson Baxter hit, I was standing with Nick Collier, and he's like, wait till Tyson hits his springboard cutter. Once he hits that once, he's a made man. And then within minutes he hit it, and it popped like I've never seen for like a move.
Right.
It was a thing of beauty. So, I mean, he's got size, athleticism. He'd be about 6'2", and once he fills out, there's every chance he could be, the next Lex, the next Sexton of the company.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's how good he's going to be.
I didn't know Tyson had a springboard cutter in his arsenal.
He does.
Because there's someone else that I've been pushing that's recently moved to Melbourne that has a springboard cutter as part of his arsenal, and I was like, wait till people see his springboard cutter. But now Tyson's gone and pulled out a springboard cutter. So, but that's all right. I'm looking forward to seeing it. The other thing about this match too, the other thing about the Mile High Club, and it sounds like I'm knocking, and I'm really not, because I'm big fans of these guys. Like, they were my act chosen for wrestler you may not have heard of, but should pay attention to in 2019. I've been through this a few times. Like, I'm very, very high on the Mile High Club. So this isn't a knock at all or a criticism at all, but I also feel like touting them as, the MCW Academy graduates,
that's a little bit misleading, yeah.
Right, like, for yourself as a fan of Melbourne wrestling or Australian wrestling as a whole, as opposed to just a fan of Melbourne City wrestling, does it feel misleading that they do that?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, obviously, you're being cheeky because they trained at NAW. The NAW is where they cut their teeth.
Yeah.
And they've been having good matches around the country. They've had some really good matches in EPW in Perth when they were at the showgrounds. They worked 20 matches in a week or something.
Yeah, like 27 matches in 7 days, something ridiculous, yeah.
But there's no doubting that going to the MCW academies sharpen them.
Yeah, of course, and it's adding extra polish and all that. And so I'm not questioning that at all. The MCW Academy looks fantastic, but I just felt like referring to people as the MCW Academy graduates and really pushing that as like as a sort of an advertisement for the Academy. I feel like you save that for the first rookie class, right?
Yeah, you do, but you don't. You still want more people to come to your school. So
yeah. No, I do understand it as a marketing
thing,
but
look, I'm seeing it as just wrestling being carny. And
yeah.
More than anything.
Well, that's it. Like, I respect the marketing hustle.
They're not lying, but they're being mischievous, yes.
Yeah, I respect the marketing hustle, but props to everyone who has had a hand in helping these guys hone their craft, from, Davis Storm and Gavin McGavin over in EPW for that week that they spent over there, and right down to, is it George the Hitman Julio, right, that they trained with at NAW.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
We are all WWE fans here. It's why we're here, listening to this show and spending inordinate amounts of hours consuming, complaining, and just generally eating, sleeping, and breathing professional wrestling. But if you want to take that to the next level, the only place to do it is WrestleMania 35 in the city so nice that they named it twice New York. And our new friends at All Aussie Travellers are going to help you make that happen in the best way possible. They are new to the wrestling travel game, granted, but they have over 15 years experience in sports and event tours between the US and Australia, so you're in good hands. They want to offer you an exclusive WrestleMania package, including return flights to the USA, 6 nights at the New Yorker Hotel right next to Times Square. And the thing that sets these packages apart are the VIP suites that AAT have secured for WrestleMania. So that's, of course, the Raw after WrestleMania. So not only are you going to go to the Hall of Fame, not only are you going to go to WrestleMania 35, but for NXT TakeOver, SmackDown Live, and the Raw immediately after WrestleMania that next night, you are going to be in an exclusive VIP suite that is not normally available to the public. But AAT, they got it locked down. They got it waiting for you with your name on it, your own private entrance, your own private toilets and bar, as well as an unparalleled view in the most comfortable seats in the house. You can experience WrestleMania weekend like never before, all at really competitive prices. So head over to All Aussie Travellers on Facebook, hit that like button, send them a message, send an email to Jack, that's JAAK, at allaussie.com.au, and let them know the B Plus sent you.
Hey, Greg, curious question for you, man. Have you been shopping recently?
I have not.
Mate, well, I've got some good news for you. I know you're not a big fan of crowds, as most of us here at the B Plus aren't. Have you heard of Threadbox?
I have heard of Threadbox.
Man, then you would know how good they actually are. I mean, I just received my first crate, and holy moly, I'm amazed. Guys, if you're listening, go check out threadbox.com.au, and they have everything from hats to socks to shirts to pants. It's fantastic. With email to a personalized stylist and customizable crates, it's honestly one of the best things I've had. I don't know about you, Greg, but I really enjoy it.
I got a crate the other day, and they gave me new jeans, a couple of new shirts, and the cool thing is, one of the shirts I tried it on, and it was a little bit long for me, and I thought this accentuates how short I am in person, and so I sent them an email, and I was just like, hey. This shirt, I feel like it makes me look really short because I'm kind of short. And they were like, send it back. We'll give you something else next month. Like an extra thing. So I'm going to send that shirt back. And then next month, they're going to send me out something else. And I said to them, I've got lots of shirts. And they were like, well, we'll send you some accessories. And that's how Threadbox do it. It's kind of fantastic.
See, how good's that? And with our special code, the B+15 at checkout, actually saves all our fans 15% at checkout on their first box. How cool is that?
Yeah, so head to threadbox.com.au today and use the code the B+15 to get your first box as soon as you can.
Look, they're so good as young kids that you find yourself watching their matches, picking out really small things to criticise them on. Yeah. And the only reason you do that is because you know that you hope that their trainers will sit down with them and pick those tiny little things to work on. So, I mean, my only criticism is sometimes they look like they're waiting for their spot. So, you've been knocked down and beaten up. And instead of selling to the moment where you've got to make your save, it looks like they're waiting.
Right.
And that's only because I'm watching things for those. Yeah, but that's the tiniest thing.
Yeah.
Like on TV, you don't notice that. That's only a live performance component. And that's the tiniest thing. And that's the only criticism I can find. Geez, they're bloody good.
No, they are. They're fantastic. And
Lyle's been high on them. Lyle, who's from my podcast, has been high on them for a long time, and I hadn't seen them for quite a while. And they definitely meet and exceed your expectations the first time you see them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, I became an instant fan when I'd heard of them, obviously through Lyle, who was one person I'd heard of them through, and of course their stint over at EPW. And then yeah, I talked about it on the first podcast of 2019 that they featured on. When I saw them on Wonderful, I became instant fan, like straight away. And I feel like anyone who sees them is having that same journey, just instantly becoming a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they didn't win. They didn't pull out the win. Loose and Reckless pull out the victory, obviously. I mean, winning the titles in your first match as a tag team probably isn't going to happen for many people. So there's no real loss there. Like, I'm sure they would have looked great in the loss. But ultimately, this
and
was...
they were put over. They got put over by Dowie and
of course
Brooksy at the end of the match, and the crowd gave the standing O. And then we were all ready for the Brat Pack.
Yeah, so this was all to lead into the angle, of course, with the Brat Pack. They appear on the balcony and they're challenging for the titles, right? Talking about how they got screwed, how they want to be 3-time champs, how management don't believe in them, all this sort of stuff.
Yes, and during their promo, like an older couple looked like they wanted to come down the balcony to go to the bathroom, and Nick Berry gave them a bait, called them flogs, told them to get out of the way, which really popped me. Nick's really good on the mic, and Mitch is really improving as well. Like he's finding his own, like in being that character.
Yeah.
Because Mitch is as far removed from the character as a human being can be, but he's really having fun with it now. And I think Nick owns it, and they're great on the mic, they're good in the ring, and I haven't seen a ladder match at MCW for quite a while, so this should be a
well, it's not a ladder match they're doing, it's a TLC match that they're
TLC, yes.
Right? Yeah,
which I don't think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I haven't seen too many of them.
I'm generally
live, I don't think.
I'm generally not a fan of the champions upping the ante and putting a stipulation on it. Like, because I'm like, the championship means that you're the best wrestler, so you should want to wrestle to defend your title, right? But being it feels like a very Adam Brooks move to be like, nah, mate, let's do it in a TLC.
Well, I think Brooksy and Dowie probably would pride themselves on being smarter wrestlers than everyone, so they feel like this will work into their favour.
Yeah.
Brooks, and I saw Nick Berry wrestle a death match against Mad Dog, so I know what he's prepared to do in one of these matches as well. So this will be close to match of the year, I think.
Right. It's a big call. Big call.
Yeah, I think it's got the potential. It's got the potential to be match of the year.
Do we think Brat Pack walk out, tied with Loose and Reckless as 3-time champions, and try to once again forge their way forward into the longest running tag team champions category?
I don't know. It depends on how long they want to keep before Dowie and Brooksy explode at each other for a third time. I honestly would use this as I'd have them win. I'd have Law win, because I'd eventually have Dowie turn heel on Brooksy.
Yeah, a Dowie heel run in MCW would be fantastic.
Dowie's a heel. Don't worry about that. He didn't change that much to wrestle as a babyface. He still wrestles arrogant and smug, and there's just people cheer him now instead of boo him.
Well, there are parts of the crowd that are turning on him already. Anyway. Yeah,
they don't like baby faces in MCW.
Yeah, it is. It's that whole cool heel phenomenon. That's what they want to cheer, right? So, anyway, speaking of cool heels, J.K. Moody, right? I'm a huge fan of J.K. Moody. And he has a match next with Mikey Nichols, the returning Mikey Nichols. Mad Mikey Nichols, I guess they're calling him.
Jeez, he's huge, Mikey Nichols.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had his full-time job was training at a performance center.
I know.
With world-class facilities, so he's going to be jacked.
He's jacked. He carries himself like a star. He still moves really well, and he's one of the hardest hitters in wrestling. Look, it was a good match, but that was the first match once the air conditioning was off.
Right.
So the crowd wasn't as hot as it should have been.
Well, they were hot. But
not the right hot. Kind of hot.
Yeah.
And with Moody, I don't know if enough's been done to get him over with your casual fan.
Yeah.
So your hardcore who watch New Zealand wrestling, they know who he is and they're excited to see him. And I feel like more promos or I don't know, like a real longer lead in with Moody would have helped him get over with the crowd, because even me, who I don't watch New Zealand wrestling, there's a slight disconnect on the character.
Right. So he's coming to cure Australian wrestling, right? Like he's basically a self-righteous heel, at least. Yeah. So it's
but the other thing that didn't work in his favour is how small he looked next to Mikey Nichols.
Yeah, well that's I can actually imagine that. He
didn't look like a threat.
Right, because of how ridiculous of a specimen Mikey Nichols is.
Yeah. But look, it was a good match, and it's good to see Mikey back, and hopefully we get to see a lot more of him in Melbourne and everywhere in the country. I think he'll be working everywhere for the next 12 months minimum. I think you'll see him in Adelaide, you'll see him in Sydney. I think everyone will be booking him.
I imagine so. I mean, if you're not booking him, what are you doing?
Well, if you're not at least asking him the question, yeah.
Yeah, it's you gotta be booking Mikey Nichols. I mean, he's fresh off the performance center, and that's the thing too. Like, I feel like looking at him, is it a really good ad for why a WWE Performance Center would be a good thing?
Well, yeah. I mean, what it really does, it shows what full-time, what working on your look, your body, the way you carry yourself full-time will do for your physical makeup. He looks like a different human being in person. He doesn't look huge on TV. Like when he was wrestling NXT, he didn't look big, but in person, I was taken aback.
Yeah.
By his shoulders and his arms. Like he's big.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is when you put him on TV, that's why I said I wasn't sure how big DCT is, right? Because when you put wrestlers on TV and they're with other wrestlers, quite often, I mean, Rey Mysterio is huge.
Oh, he's jacked.
Right? Like he's a wide human being when you look at his back and stuff. But you don't when he's on TV. He's tiny. He's in there with Batista, and you're like, look at that small guy.
Kevin Nash lawn darting him.
Yeah, but he's actually quite a large individual compared to your average human. And so when you get wrestlers next to other wrestlers on TV, sometimes you forget just how big they can be. Yeah.
Yeah, and so just a reminder that look, our guys have got all the ability in the world, but once they get signed, there's going to be a period of adjustment once they go to bigger companies just to, to get their fitness to the level that it probably needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's through no fault of their own. These guys are holding down day jobs. They're phenomenally fit.
Yeah.
But yes, just the strength difference.
Yeah, there are a number of our guys that would 100% just fit in straight away. Like you look at a Mick Moretti, you look at a Damian Slater, you know,
and Slex, and and Sexton, I think, is going to fit in pretty well.
Yeah, there are some of the wrestlers that also have day jobs as personal trainers. they're in a good boat. But this match, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this was sort of the only match that didn't have one of those angles or something spinning out of it towards the end.
Yeah, this was just they had the match and that was it.
They had the match. It was just Mikey Nicholls' return. See, I feel like that's kind of a little bit of a killer for J.K. Moody's character. I mean, yeah, he's having a match against the returning Mikey Nicholls, but as well, he's making the claim that he's going to come in and, this is his Melbourne City Wrestling, and then he's losing his second match.
Yeah, with the joint show over there, I think that's when, because they're having that joint show, MCW can really use that to get him over, I think, where a lot of Melbourne people will watch that show.
Yeah.
And you can probably have Moody then, really clean someone up and in front of a crowd that's hot for him.
Yeah. Yeah, that
because
makes
let's face
sense.
it, when that show happens, everyone in New Zealand will be even cheering their own heels over the MCW
over
guys.
The MCW guys, quite likely, yes. Nationalism. Yeah. Huzzah.
Let's call it patriotism.
Are they different? Are the two
They're
things
very
different?
Things.
They are
very
okay.
different things.
Fair enough. I'm just anti-state. I'm a weird guy like that. I don't want to get into it. This isn't a politics podcast. Anyway, Avery, Indy, match everyone's been looking forward to for months, and it ends in a no contest
by Kellyanne,
which I called on the pre-show. I want it on record. Go back and listen. I called it. I said, there's no clear face here. I think Kellyanne needs to make a return. Like, I know that they're doing the whole, the crowd just get behind who they like. And I respect that. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But for me, I'm like, there's no clear face here. I need Kellyanne to run in and just destroy everyone. And Kellyanne runs in and destroys everyone. I love it.
Well, the only thing that's stopping Avery from being a babyface is the Brat Pack.
The Brat Pack, yeah. Yeah.
Because every other part of her character, everyone wants to cheer. Everyone loves her.
Yeah, but again, it's a cool heel kind of thing. Like, everyone loves her because she just doesn't give a shit about them. Well,
they also really love how much she's developed in the last 12 months, I think, as well. There's a respect element there.
Absolutely. But I also can't stress this enough. I feel like the Melbourne City Wrestling fans have a certain level of self-loathing, and they like people who just don't care about them.
That sounds like my love life.
Right? So I'm just, not to personally attack anyone, I feel like there's an element of that in the Melbourne City crowd. I don't know.
Yeah, there possibly is. But look, I was one of the few people cheering for Indy because it's my gimmick.
Yep.
Favorite wrestler.
Absolutely.
Look, it was looking like it was going to be a good match. Avery used one of Indy's favorite moves, which is the swing the person's body into the fence on Indy, which was a nice little spot. And then Kellyanne came out. And it's funny, when you've got people really looking forward to a match and then Kellyanne comes out during the match, it's risky, but she did get a huge return pop, so obviously they know more than what I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look, it means that neither Indy or Avery take the loss, which is good, even though technically Indy should have won by disqualification because she was attacked first.
Right.
But look, to get the no contest, it'll go into a three-way dance at the next show, which, look, you're adding a really good worker to two girls who've got huge character.
Yeah.
And I think my only issue is you got your whole women's division in one match. So I think that it's really difficult.
They've got their whole local women's division in one match. But they've
still that's what I mean.
Yeah. They've still got others that they bring in to fill things out.
Yeah, which they're going to need to do a lot more of, I think, because they've only got the three locals, and Aria, they've got four locals probably.
Yeah.
But it's what I like about the Glow shows. It gives them the opportunity to bring other girls in, have a look at them, and then give them a match if they're
Well, that's the thing
If
with
they're
the
happy with
Glow
them-
shows and with Wrestle Rock too, which Wrestle Rock is another little branch spin-off of MCW, and Vixen works both of those.
I'd love to see Vixen come back into MCW.
Yeah.
I think that at the end of this feud, if you had Vixen just show up, like that'd be a real danger for whoever wins this feud. It's like it really, really would it would make Vixen look like a big deal, which she is, and she has great chemistry with Avery especially.
Yeah, I book the territory for a second here. Let's call this a title match, the triple threat, right? The first ever Melbourne City Wrestling Women's Champion. And Vixen doesn't let the match happen. She shows up and just destroys everyone. And then you get a four-way at the big show, right?
Yeah, see, I don't think you can do that because you've just had Kellyanne effectively do that to the last match.
Yeah.
You're starting to look like you got dusty finishes every week.
Right. Yeah, I understand that, but also
But I would
love to see that
match. I'd love to see at the end of this match, even if it's a lucky win to one of the heels especially, and there's like a respect between all three somehow, and then Vixen comes out and goes, "What's this crap?"
Yeah, there's definitely potential for a great women's division in Melbourne, especially when you factor in, bringing in, of course, we got to assume they're looking at Candy Lee with the next Glow show, and of course they're wanting to work in New Zealand and stuff. I mean, Candy Lee doesn't really work SPW though, so anyway, but yeah, Candy Lee,
you got Tali.
I'd love to
Shazza.
see, Shazza, of course. I'd love to see Stella Nix or Lena Cross, both from over in Perth.
I'd like to see Facebook come down.
Yeah, so there's plenty of women.
Size.
There's plenty of women.
And then
who
you've
can
still
work
got Taylor Rose. You've still got Taylor Rose and Aria. Taylor Rose has been injured. She's about ready to come back, and the crowd like her.
Yeah,
she's green, but the crowd really like her, and so they've still got names they can use.
Green. I see what you did there. But no, I think it's time for the title, and I think this story is hot enough that
look, they'll do what's best for them, and I know that if they've told me that they'd rather build the division and give them good stories than a title where there's no one to fight for. So they want to build the characters up, and make people really desperate for it. I think before they. Well, just bring in a prop title.
I guess that is the other side of the argument too. Is the story's hot? What do you need it for? So
exactly.
Yeah.
But the counter argument is once you've got the title, that means that you can have the hot story and then another story for the title. It means that you've got more stories for the women, which means you can bring more women in. So it's chicken and the egg stuff.
Yeah.
And they've decided to build the division first. Other organisations bring in the title and then build the division around that, and neither of them's the right way or the wrong way.
That's it. It's wrestling. There's a million ways to skin a cat. So
flavors of ice cream.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to the main event, Stevie Philippe, Tome Philippe. Did they live up to being given their first MCW main event?
Oh, look, they're both fantastic. Once again, crowd was a little bit flat because of the heat.
Yeah.
But and the storyline was obviously rushed. They wouldn't have wanted to get to this match, I don't think, for a couple of months, ideally. But with both boys leaving for at least 3 months, but they had to do it. Stevie winning was really good. It's Tome's first loss. Put his brother over clean, and then at the end, they came together, cut a promo. I think every part of that tells me that the Philippe boys don't think they'll ever be back.
Yeah.
They're backing themselves in.
Right.
Everyone will be happy to see them come back in 3 months for at least a match before they do something else.
They've got to have at least one more before they head off somewhere else, right? Like
You hope so. You hope so. But look, they came back together. They cut their promo about how they're going to take over the world together. Tome's last 2 promos have been good. I think he's improved a lot, and that's been pleasing. And Stevie's like a video game in the ring.
Yeah.
It's why I like him as a team, because Tome has ring IQ beyond his years. He's always in the right spot. He knows when to bring heat. He knows when to do a flip, which he doesn't do often, but he'll do it in a tag team match and prove that he can. and Stevie, can do things that Will Ospreay does. So I think, they look like $1 million as well. We're not going to see much more of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you never know. You never know with contract situations and stuff, and the landscape of pro wrestling the world over completely changing. It's possible that they'll still get to do home shows from time to time. But either way, I mean, so it definitely felt like a goodbye.
If they end up doing what Sebastian Matters is doing, which is what I suspect, they'll go from Fale Dojo and then they'll be young boys, which means 2 years in the dojo minimum in Japan, which means we won't see them.
Right.
So
imagine how hungry the fans will be for them when they do return, though.
Well, there's every chance they end up being the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
They're that level, but
they round each other out so well as a team.
I think that any weaknesses one of them might have is the other person's strength.
Yeah.
Which it's pleasing, and I think look, they're really nice. They're really nice kids too. They've been well brought up, and I'm really happy for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So best of luck at Fale Dojo, fellas, if you're listening, and we're behind you all the way, and it's looking forward to what's to come. But that was MCW Uprising in a nutshell. What would you call match of the night if you had to pick one?
Probably the tag match.
Tag match? Yeah.
The tag match probably edged the opener.
Right. I'm really keen to see this Mike Burr Richie Taylor match, because that's right up my alley. Just dudes beating the crap out of each other.
It's about taste, isn't it? So I think a lot of people would probably call that match of the night as well. So it's one of those things where on paper it wasn't the strongest card they've ever done, but you still always walk away from their shows happy with what you've just seen.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, people can watch it. It's not up yet as we talk, because it happened 2 days ago, but it'll probably be up sometime towards the end of this week.
I saw a video of Mikey editing it, so it won't be too long.
Yeah, up on there. They edit like madmen, these guys. Like, I have so much respect for how quickly Melbourne City Wrestling and PWA lately as well just pump out these. Oh, and EPW as well are pretty consistent with, within a week or a week and a half. Riot City Wrestling, they get theirs up for free on YouTube within 2 weeks, which is incredible too. It's a whole second job. Yeah, it's a whole second job for them to do this. It's insane, and hats off. And you can find it, as I was saying, MCW Encore. That's on Vimeo. It's on Pivot Share. There's a bunch of places. I'll put the links in the show notes. Where can people find you, Brent?
You can find me at On The Turnbuckle on any social media. I think that'll work, or at Welshio5 on Twitter. And you can hear us on mypodcasthouse.com.
Right, so that's On The Turnbuckle, and this week you have Lockie Hendricks, Loverboy stuff.
We do, and go back and listen to our episode from last week, because we had Carlo Cannon.
Yes.
And Carlo, he's a superstar. He's fantastic. I could have spoken to him. Well, I did speak to him for 3 hours. We only recorded 40 minutes, but I could have recorded that whole chat, and it would have been entertaining. He's one of the good guys in wrestling.
I thought you were going to say people go back and listen to the first time Lockie was on the show, because you're going for round two with Tony.
Yeah, those two don't get along.
Is Tony there this week?
Well, he was in hospital yesterday, but he tells me he's going to check himself out and be there. So
okay.
I don't think he knows I've got Lockie on, so I didn't tell him. And I didn't tell Lockie that Tony will be there, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because as a fan of the show, I'm looking forward to round two. I want to just see how far they can just derail the whole thing.
Well, I know I was talking to JXT, who's got the second edition of his promotion, Mayhem, on the weekend, and he said, if you can get Lockie and Tony to kick off at each other again, there might be a spot on the card for them in the future show. So
Amazing. I look forward to it. And you can find me at Greg Unchained on Twitter, at the Greg Unchained on Instagram. We collectively are the B Plus Wrestle on Twitter, because wrestling would have fit the B Plus Wrestling everywhere else. Like, share, subscribe, hit up the Patreon if you want to get in our mission to watch global, support local. 5-star review if you like what we do, and thank you so much for listening.
Hold one! Arm drag!
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list!
Oh my God!
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy!
Goodbye and good night.
Hold two! Arm bar!
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Coming.
Hold 3. The moss-covered, 3-handle family credential.
Mamma mia! It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Number 4, armbar.